Welcome to the MangaLove channel. Today, we would like to introduce to you a story about a werewolf marked me as his mate. Now he shows up at my window every full moon like it's normal. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to MangaLove so you won't miss any of the newest stories. Now, let's dive right into today's story. The Texas sun blazed low over the horizon as Lisa Nelson's plane descended toward Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. A molten orange glow stretched across the endless skyline. She pressed her palm to the window, her heart tightening with every passing second. 8 years, 8 long, lonely, and triumphant years since she'd last breathed the heavy summer air of the city she once called home, and the man she once loved more than her own breath. Her phone buzzed. "Can't wait to see you, sis, Monique." Lisa smiled softly at the message. Monique's wedding, and that was why she'd come back. That was what she told everyone. But deep inside, she knew there was another reason she had avoided Dallas for so long. The truth was, she wasn't ready to face the ghost that lingered here, especially the one named Charles Phillip. As the plane taxied, Lisa caught her reflection in the window. Sleek, composed, and professional. London had changed her. The tailored suits, the confidence in her posture, the way people at work called her Ms. Nelson with admiration. Yet behind the layers of success, something still ached. A hollow echo of the life she'd once imagined. By the time she reached baggage claim, the Dallas air hit her like memory itself, warm, thick, and familiar. Every scent, every sound tugged her backward in time. The way Charles used to hum while working on his old truck, the way his laughter rolled like a song through summer evenings. She had left that behind. She had left him behind. The drive to her family's home wound through streets she knew by heart, except everything seemed newer, sharper, and more distant. New buildings rose where old diners used to stand, but the oak trees still lined Maple Avenue like sentinels of her youth, whispering the same secrets they always had. At a red light, she caught herself smiling at the thought of Charles again. The way he'd tilt his head when he listened, his thumb always tracing lazy circles on her wrist. She still remembered his words the night she ended things. "You think love is something you can schedule, Lisa? Something you fit in between success and safety?" She'd wanted to scream back that it wasn't about that. It was about survival, about not wasting her potential. But instead, she had stood there trembling and let him walk away. The sound of that door closing still echoed in her chest. 8 years hadn't dulled it. Her family home was a whirlwind of wedding chaos, laughter, flowers, and last-minute details. Monique squealed when she saw Lisa and hugged her tight. "Look at you, London lady," she teased. "All posh and beautiful. You look like a woman with the world in her hands." Lisa laughed, hugging her sister back hard, just holding it together, one deadline at a time. They talked for hours about wedding decorations, about London, about old friends. But when Monique mentioned that Charles Phillip was on the guest list, Lisa froze mid-sentence. "He's what?" Monique blinked, surprised. "Oh, I thought you knew. Charles is on the city council now. He's doing really well. Mom invited him. You know, he was close with the family back then. He's helping Dad with the reception logistics." Lisa's throat went dry. Helping Dad? So he wasn't just coming. He'd be there every day, every event. That night, lying awake in her childhood bedroom, Lisa stared at the ceiling. She could almost hear his voice, low and steady. "You'll come back one day, and I'll be gone." Maybe he was right. Maybe the man she'd loved was gone for good. The next evening was the rehearsal dinner at a vineyard just outside Dallas. Lisa chose a soft blue dress that hugged her figure, elegant but understated. Her hands trembled as she applied lipstick. "It's just dinner," she whispered to her reflection. "You're not 16 anymore." But when she arrived at the venue, the warm air thick with music and laughter, her heart began to pound in her chest. And then she saw him, Charles. He stood near the bar, talking to her father, a glass of bourbon in hand, the amber liquid catching the light. Time seemed to fold in on itself. He looked older, broader in the shoulders, confidence woven into every line of his stance. His hair was shorter now, touched with hints of gray that only made him look more distinguished. But it was his eyes, the same stormy blue that had once unraveled her completely, that stole her breath. He saw her. For a moment, the world went silent. The clinking glasses, the laughter, the music, all faded into a distant hum. His gaze lingered on her face, unreadable, cool. Then he nodded once, polite, detached, and turned back to finish his drink. Her chest ached. So that's how it is. Later, she gathered her courage and approached him. "Charles," she said softly. He turned, his smile polite but guarded. "Lisa Nelson. Welcome back to Dallas." "8 years," she murmured, trying to smile. "You look different." "So do you," he said, eyes flicking over her like a memory he didn't want to relive. "London suits you. It has its moments." An awkward silence stretched between them. The air was charged, not just with discomfort, but something deeper, familiar, dangerous. "I heard about your business," she said quietly, "and the counsel position." "You've done incredible things, Charles. I always knew you would." His jaw tightened. "Funny, you didn't seem so sure back then." Her breath hitched. The words stung, but she nodded. "I deserve that." He looked away, his tone flat. "I doubt it makes any difference now." Then, as if catching himself, he added coolly, "Anyway, it's good to see you, Lisa, for what it's worth." And just like that, he walked away, leaving her standing under the soft glow of the vineyard lights, heart splintering all over again. Lisa escaped to the patio, where the Texas night wrapped around her like a memory, warm and endless. She blinked up at the stars, fighting the tears threatening to spill. "You came back stronger," she told herself. "You built the life you wanted. So why did it feel so empty now?" Inside, she heard laughter, Charles's deep voice among it. She remembered the nights he used to sing to her, off-key and perfect, his arm draped over her as they lay on the hood of his old truck, the city lights glimmering in the distance. Those were the nights she felt invincible, when love was enough, when tomorrow was just a promise whispered between two beating hearts. She'd traded that for ambition, for security, and yet success had never filled the void he left. When the evening ended, she lingered near her car, staring at the city lights in the distance. She was about to leave when she heard footsteps behind her. Charles's voice broke the silence. "You're still doing that thing." She turned, startled. "What thing?" "Staring off at the skyline, like you're trying to memorize it." He stopped a few feet away, his expression softer now, though his tone carried that familiar edge. "Always looking at something you're about to leave behind." She swallowed. "Maybe I'm just trying to remember why I came back." He studied her for a long moment, eyes glinting in the dim light. "You really don't know, do you?" Lisa's breath caught. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," he said quickly, his walls slamming back up. "Forget it." But she couldn't. The air between them buzzed, half resentment, half law attraction. She wanted to reach for him, to say everything she hadn't 8 years ago, but her courage failed her. Instead, she whispered, "It's good to see you again, Charles." He looked at her, eyes unreadable, then gave a curt nod. "Good night, Lisa." He walked away, his footsteps echoing across the gravel, leaving her standing in the glow of the streetlights, heart hammering against her ribs. As Lisa drove back home, tears blurred her vision. She pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, stifling a sob. He had moved on, or at least that's what he wanted her to believe. And maybe he had every right. She had broken him once, and now she could feel the price of that choice clawing its way through her chest. Dallas had changed. So had he. But her heart still recognized his every heartbeat like it was her own. When she finally reached home, she sat in her car for a long time, staring at the quiet house, unable to move. The scent of Texas rain drifted in through the cracked window, soft and familiar. She closed her eyes and let the tears fall freely. Maybe fate is cruel, she thought, or maybe it's giving me one last chance to make things right. Morning sunlight spilled through the Nelson family's kitchen windows, glinting off crystal vases and ribbons scattered across the table. Lisa stood by the counter, stirring coffee she didn't really want, her mind replaying the night before in agonizing detail. Charles's voice, cold but steady, his eyes, that flicker of emotion he tried so hard to hide, the quiet good night that had felt more like goodbye. She pressed her lips together, trying to steady the ache. She told herself she was over him, but seeing him again had reopened something raw and fragile inside her, something that refused to stay buried. Morning sunlight spilled through the Nelson family's kitchen windows, glinting off crystal vases and ribbons scattered across the table. Lisa stood by the counter, stirring coffee she didn't really want, her mind replaying the night before in agonizing detail. Charles's voice, cold but steady, his eyes, that flicker of emotion he tried so hard to hide, the quiet good night that had felt more like goodbye. She pressed her lips together, trying to steady the ache. She told herself she was over him, but seeing him again had reopened something raw and fragile inside her, something that refused to stay buried. "Girl, you look like you've seen a ghost," Monique teased, bursting into the kitchen in a swirl of satin and energy. "What's with that face? Don't tell me the rehearsal dinner wore you out already." Lisa forced a smile. "Just jet lag. London time still messing with me." Monique gave her a look, that big sister knows everything kind of look, even though Lisa was technically older. "Jet lag, huh? Or is it the Charles Phillip effect?" Lisa blinked. "What?" "Oh, come on. You think I didn't notice the way you were staring at him last night? I swear if tension were flammable, that vineyard would have gone up in smoke." Lisa tried to laugh, but it came out shaky. "You're imagining things? Am I?" Monique leaned against the counter. "He's single, you know, and apparently the city's most eligible bachelor. Mom keeps saying he's been in the paper for some charity thing. Council meetings, business expansions, you name it." Lisa's chest tightened. "Good for him." "Good for him?" Monique echoed with disbelief. "Girl, you're the one who dumped the man, not the other way around. Don't act like you don't care." "I didn't say I didn't care," Lisa whispered, staring down at her coffee. "I just made a choice, and I have to live with it." That evening was the main wedding dinner, a more formal affair with champagne, fairy lights, and laughter echoing through the lush garden of the Nelson estate. Lisa arrived early, dressed in a flowing white dress that brushed her knees and shimmered softly in the light. She told herself it didn't matter if he was there. She was here for Monique, for family. But when Charles walked in, navy suit, crisp shirt, a hint of cologne that drifted across the room like a memory, her composure cracked all over again. He spotted her almost immediately, their eyes locked, and the world seemed to tilt slightly, as if the air itself leaned toward him. But this time, he didn't look away. "Lisa," he greeted her with a nod, his tone polite, controlled. But the way his gaze lingered told another story entirely. "Charles," she managed a soft smile, "you look well." "So do you," he said, his voice steady, but his eyes flicked down her figure. Quick, uninvited, and electric. Before she could reply, one of the event planners called him over to discuss table arrangements. She watched him walk away, shoulders squared, posture perfect. Everything about him screamed confidence, composure, success. But underneath it all, she sensed something else, a shadow of the man who used to hold her like the world was about to end. Hours passed in a blur of conversation and music. The air buzzed with warmth and laughter. But every time Lisa looked up, she caught Charles's eyes on her, brief, intense, then quickly diverted. When the dinner ended and most guests had drifted away, she stepped outside to the patio for some air. The night was soft, humid, the scent of gardenias thick in the breeze. Crickets chirped somewhere in the dark, and then footsteps behind her. "Can't sleep either?" Charles's voice cut through the stillness. Lisa turned. He stood by the doorway, hands in his pockets, tie loosened. a faint vulnerability in the way his hair fell across his forehead. "I didn't realize you were still here," she said. "Couldn't leave," he admitted quietly. "Your dad wanted to talk business." He smiled faintly. Then his gaze softened. "You always used to sneak outside at parties, said the stars were better company." She smiled, remembering. They still are. They stood in silence for a moment, not awkward, but heavy, charged. "You've done well for yourself," she said finally. "The city council, the business. I'm proud of you, Charles." His expression flickered, something sharp cutting through the calm. "Are you? Or are you just surprised?" Her heart sank. "That's not fair." "Neither was the way you left." His words came out low, but hard. "You didn't even give me a chance. You said I wasn't where you needed me to be yet, that you couldn't risk your future on a man who was still figuring his own out." She looked down, shame flooding her chest. "I was young, Charles, scared. I didn't know how to build a dream without losing myself in someone else's." He took a step closer, voice trembling slightly now. "And did you find yourself?" Lisa met his gaze. "I found success. I found independence, but I never found peace." The confession hung between them, raw and trembling. Charles exhaled, looking away. "You think you can just come back here after 8 years and say things like that? Like nothing happened?" "No," she said softly. "I came back for my sister's wedding, but seeing you, it reminded me of everything I lost, everything we lost." The silence between them crackled like heat lightning. Charles's jaw tightened, his hands balling at his sides. "You hurt me, Lisa." "I know," she whispered, "and I'll carry that forever." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, almost against his will, he stepped closer. So close she could feel the warmth of his breath against her skin. "God, you haven't changed," he murmured. "Neither have you," she breathed. Their eyes locked, and suddenly the years fell away. The world shrank to the space between them. Charles reached up, brushing a strand of hair from her face. His touch was hesitant, trembling. "You used to wear your hair like this?" he said quietly. "Drives me crazy that I still remember." Her breath caught. "Then don't remember." "I can't," he said. "I never stopped." The words hit her like a storm. She blinked back tears, her voice shaking. "Then why are you so cold?" He laughed bitterly. "Because it's easier than admitting I still love you." For a heartbeat, everything stopped. The wind, the sound of the night, her own breathing. Then his hand dropped, and he stepped back, eyes glistening. "Good night, Lisa," he said softly. "Before I say something we'll both regret." He turned and walked away, leaving her standing on the patio, shaking, her heart pounding so hard she could barely breathe. That night, Lisa couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her chest tight. The sound of his voice, the heat in his gaze, it haunted her. She got up and went to the window. The city stretched out before her, glowing with lights. Somewhere out there, Charles was awake too. She could feel it. Meanwhile, across town, Charles sat on the edge of his bed, tie discarded, shirt half unbuttoned. The bourbon on his nightstand sat untouched. He ran a hand through his hair and let out a long, shaky breath. Lisa Nelson. The name alone could unravel him. He'd built an empire, climbed his way into respectability, power, stability, all the things she once said she needed. But, standing in front of her tonight, he'd realized none of it meant a damn thing if she wasn't part of it. Still, the fear lingered that if he let her in again, she'd leave just the same. He stared out at the Dallas skyline. "You don't get to do this to me twice," he muttered to the empty room. But, even as he said it, he knew it was already too late. The next morning, fate had its cruel sense of humor. Lisa arrived at the wedding venue early, helping Monique with floral arrangements, only to find Charles there, sleeves rolled up, carrying boxes with her father. Their eyes met across the aisle. Both froze. Monique laughed, oblivious. "Oh, good! You two can help hang the lights together. Don't kill each other." Charles gave a low chuckle. Wouldn't dream of it. Lisa forced a smile, but her pulse was racing. As they worked side by side in uneasy silence, their hands brushed over a strand of fairy lights. A spark, literal or not, shot through her fingers. She looked up, met his eyes. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Charles whispered, "Careful, Lisa, you're playing with fire." She held his gaze. Maybe it's time I stopped being afraid of getting burned. His lips curved into the faintest, most devastating smile she'd ever seen. And in that fleeting second, beneath the soft hum of lights, the scent of flowers, and the Dallas sun warming their faces, something inside both of them shifted. The frost had begun to melt. The morning light in Dallas came soft and golden, pouring through lace curtains and spilling over the chaos of wedding preparations. You are listening to a narrated story on the MangaLove channel. Don't forget to share your thoughts about today's story. The house buzzed with voices and laughter, but Lisa felt detached from it all, floating in some quiet space where memory and longing refused to let her go. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw him, Charles, standing under the fairy lights, that half smile on his lips, that low voice that still made her heart skip. "Careful, Lisa, you're playing with fire." He was right. But it was a fire she had never truly escaped. By noon, the rehearsal had begun at the lakeside venue. The sky shimmered an endless blue, the water glittering like liquid glass. Lisa arrived early, wearing a soft blush dress that fluttered in the warm wind. She busied herself with seating cards, avoiding her reflection in the lake, because she already knew what she'd see. A woman trying desperately to stay composed while her heart tore itself open. "Need a hand?" The voice came from behind her, calm, deep, achingly familiar. She turned, and there he was again, Charles Phillip, white shirt rolled at the sleeves, the afternoon sun catching the faint stubble on his jaw. Lisa froze. "You don't have to help, I've got it." He smirked slightly. "Maybe I want to." The tension between them was subtle but heavy, like the air before a storm. They worked side by side, silent at first. The only sounds were the wind, the soft slap of water against the dock, and the occasional rustle of paper. Finally, Lisa spoke. "I heard your company got that new downtown project." He nodded. "We did. A new community center near the West District." "That's amazing, Charles." His voice softened. "You always said I should do something meaningful with my work. I guess I took your words to heart." Lisa looked up, eyes glistening. "You listened, even after—" She stopped. He met her gaze. "After you broke mine." Her throat tightened. "Yes." Charles looked away toward the lake, his voice quiet but steady. "You know, I used to come here after you left, just to think. I'd sit on that dock and ask myself what I did wrong, whether I wasn't ambitious enough, whether loving you wasn't enough." Lisa's chest ached. "Charles," he turned back to her, eyes dark with emotion. "You leaving lit a fire in me. Every sleepless night, every deal I fought for, it was all because of you. I wanted to prove I could be the man you didn't believe I'd become." She blinked back tears. "I never doubted you'd become him. I just didn't know how to stay and believe in myself, too." Something in his face softened, the bitterness giving way to quiet ache. "You know what's funny? Even after all this time, when I think about the happiest moments of my life, it's still you. Us. That old truck, late-night coffee, your laughter in the rain. You left, but the memories stayed." Her eyes shimmered. "And they haunted me, too. Every single one." They stood there, the world fading around them. Two people suspended in the fragile stillness of a love that had never truly died. Later that afternoon, Monique's fiancé called everyone for a quick lunch break. Charles volunteered to grab extra supplies from his truck, and without thinking, Lisa offered to help. The drive to the nearby store was quiet at first. The radio hummed softly, the air between them thick with words unsaid. Finally, Lisa broke the silence. "Why did you stay single all these years?" Charles gave a small, rueful smile. "You really want the truth?" Yes. He kept his eyes on the road. Because every time I tried to move on, I compared her to you, and nobody ever came close. Lisa swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. That's not fair to you. He laughed softly, but it was a sad sound. Fairness left us a long time ago, Lisa. They parked outside the small local store. Inside, the air smelled of pine and citrus cleaners. They walked the aisles in silence until Lisa stopped beside the window, her hand brushing the edge of a bouquet display. You know, when I first got to London, I kept thinking I'd call you just to tell you I missed you. But I couldn't, because if you'd said you'd moved on, I don't think I could have handled it. Charles stared at her, something raw flashing in his eyes. And if I told you I never did? Lisa's breath caught. He took a step closer. What if I told you that no matter how much success I found, it all felt empty without you in it? Her heart was racing. Then I'd tell you I feel the same. He hesitated for only a heartbeat before closing the distance between them. His hand lifted to her cheek, trembling slightly. Lisa. She looked up at him, eyes glassy. You're not the only one who never stopped loving. That was all it took. Their lips met, slow, hesitant, then desperate. 8 years of longing exploding into that single moment. The kiss deepened, raw and consuming. It wasn't polished or planned. It was real, full of everything they'd been too proud to say. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, Lisa pressed her forehead against his. God, I missed you. He laughed softly, his voice low. 8 years too long. For a moment, neither of them moved. The hum of the air conditioner, the distant buzz of traffic, it all faded. There was only them, and the unspoken truth between their hearts. They had never truly let go. By evening, the sky turned the color of melted amber as they returned to the venue. The rehearsal had ended, but Charles lingered, offering to help her pack up decorations. As they worked quietly under the fading light, Lisa said softly, "Do you ever think about what could have been?" "All the time," he admitted. She smiled faintly. "Sometimes I dream we never broke up. We got married young, probably struggled a bit, but we'd be happy. You'd still build your empire, I'd still have my career, just together." Charles looked at her, his eyes shining. "Maybe that's still possible." She froze. I mean, maybe we don't have to keep living in the past. Maybe this is our second chance." Lisa's heart thudded in her chest. "You really believe people get those?" He smiled softly. "You're standing in front of me, aren't you?" Something inside her melted completely. She didn't fight the tears this time. "I thought you hated me." "I tried to," he said honestly. "But you can't hate the reason your heart still beats." Her breath hitched, tears spilling freely now. "Charles." He reached out, brushing them away gently with his thumb. "Don't cry, sweetheart. Not over what's already forgiven." The word sweetheart broke her. She leaned into him, and he pulled her close, holding her like he used to. Strong arms, steady heartbeat, that familiar scent of cedar and warmth. For the first time in 8 years, she felt home. Later that night, they found themselves walking along the lakeshore, the moon high above them. The air was cooler now, a soft breeze rippling through the water. "Remember the night we got caught in that thunderstorm?" Lisa asked, smiling through tears. Charles laughed. "You wore those white sandals that broke halfway through. We had to run barefoot all the way back to my truck. And you said, maybe the universe is washing us clean." He looked at her, his expression tender. "Maybe it's doing that again tonight." Lisa stopped walking, turning to face him fully. "Charles, if we do this, I don't want it to be out of nostalgia. I don't want to repeat the same mistakes." He stepped closer, his voice low and earnest. "Then don't run this time. Stay. We've both built our dreams, Lisa. Maybe now it's time to build something together." Her heart ached, not with pain, but with the kind of hope that terrified her. "You'd really give me another chance? I think we both need one," he said softly. And when he kissed her again under the moonlight, the world seemed to hold its breath. The kiss wasn't rushed. It was slow, reverent, like rediscovering a language they both once spoke fluently. His hands framed her face, hers clutched at his shirt. The air around them shimmered with something sacred: forgiveness, desire, and the fragile beauty of beginning again. When they finally pulled away, tears glistened in her eyes. Lisa whispered, "Maybe love doesn't die. Maybe it just waits." Charles smiled, resting his forehead against hers. "And I've been waiting a long time, sweetheart." And beneath the silver light of the Dallas moon, their hearts remembered what their minds had tried so hard to forget: that some loves aren't meant to end, they're meant to find their way back. The morning after their kiss, the world felt softer, quieter, as if Dallas itself had exhaled. Sunlight spilled across the Nelson family garden, painting everything gold. Birds sang, the air smelled of rain and roses. But Lisa's heart was far from calm. She sat on her childhood bed, staring at her phone. The screen showed an unanswered message from Charles: "We need to talk." Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, but she didn't reply. Not yet, because beneath the warmth of last night's confessions, fear had begun to whisper again. The same fear that made her leave 8 years ago. What if they were just two ghosts chasing memories? What if this love was a beautiful mistake, reborn too late? A knock interrupted her thoughts. "Lisa, you in there?" It was Monique, radiant even in her dressing gown. The wedding was only hours away, but she still had time to notice everything. Lisa opened the door. "Good, you're up," Monique said, stepping in with a cup of coffee. "You look somewhere else." Lisa smiled weakly. "Just tired." Monique tilted her head. "Is it Charles?" Lisa froze. "Why would you say that?" Her sister laughed softly. "Because I saw you two last night by the lake. You think I wouldn't recognize that look? Girl, I've known you my whole life. You used to look at him like he was the only person on earth." Lisa sank onto the bed, rubbing her forehead. "It's complicated." "Love usually is," Monique said gently, sitting beside her. "But complicated doesn't mean wrong." Lisa looked at her sister's wedding dress hanging by the window, lace, soft ivory, shimmering in the light. "I hurt him once," she whispered, "and I don't know if I deserve to make it right." Monique squeezed her hand. "Maybe that's exactly why you should." Later that morning, Lisa wandered out to the garden to clear her head. The house buzzed with last-minute chaos: hairdressers, caterers, laughter. But she slipped away quietly, barefoot on the dew-soaked grass. She found Charles near the gazebo talking with her father. He looked composed, focused, but his eyes flicked toward her the moment she appeared. When her father left, Charles turned to her. "Morning?" Lisa nodded, heart pounding. "About last night," he interrupted softly. "I meant what I said, Lisa, every word." Her throat tightened. "So did I." "But what?" His voice was calm, but there was something fragile beneath it, the quiet fear of a man who had once been broken. She looked away. "What if this is just nostalgia? What if we're mistaking the past for something that doesn't belong to us anymore?" Charles stepped closer, his expression unreadable. "Do you really believe that?" "I don't know," she whispered. He took her hands, firm but trembling. "Lisa, we both built our lives trying to fill the same empty space. I tried to forget you with work, money, success, but none of it mattered when I couldn't share it with you." Her eyes filled with tears. "And I spent years pretending I was fine. London was beautiful, but I was lonely. Every promotion, every flight, every quiet Sunday morning, I kept wondering what would have happened if I'd just stayed." Charles's jaw tightened, his voice raw. "You think I didn't wonder the same? Every time I passed that diner we used to go to, every time I drove past the old park, it was you, Lisa, always you." Her tears spilled over. "Then why does it still feel like we're standing on a cliff?" He took a breath, his thumb brushing her knuckles. "Because we are, but maybe this time we jump together." Hours later, the ceremony began. The lakeside was a dream. Rows of white chairs, flowers draped in soft blush and cream. The sky painted with streaks of orange as the sun began to lower. Lisa stood by Monique's side, holding her bouquet, smiling as her sister walked down the aisle. But her heart was a storm. Every vow spoken reminded her of what she'd lost, what she still wanted. When Monique said, "I promise to choose you every day for the rest of my life," Lisa's vision blurred, because that was all she'd ever wanted, to choose and be chosen, without fear, without conditions. And suddenly, she knew this wasn't nostalgia. It was love, still alive, still waiting for her to be brave enough to claim it. After the ceremony, as laughter and music filled the air, Lisa stepped away to breathe. The evening had turned dusky and soft, fairy lights twinkling across the lake. She spotted Charles standing near the edge of the crowd, watching her. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes said everything: hope, pain, love. She walked toward him, her heart pounding. "We can't keep dancing around this," she said softly. He exhaled. "You're right." Lisa took a shaky breath. "I don't want to run anymore." Something broke in his face, a quiet relief, like sunlight after rain. He stepped forward, voice trembling. "Lisa, I tried to hate you."
God knows I tried, but every time I looked at someone new, I saw your eyes. Every time I succeeded, I wished you'd been there to see it. And now you're here and— He stopped, emotion choking his voice. Lisa reached up, brushing away the tear that slipped down his cheek. "Then don't stop. Say it." His gaze burned into hers. "I love you. I never stopped." Her breath hitched, a sob catching in her throat. "And I've been loving you in silence for 8 years. I'm done pretending I don't." They stood there, tears shining, the world spinning around them. And then he pulled her into his arms. Their lips met again, deeper this time, not desperate, but certain. It was the kiss of two people choosing each other all over again. When they finally broke apart, laughter and cheers rose behind them. Monique had seen, and the crowd erupted in knowing smiles. Charles chuckled softly against her hair. "Guess we just made it official." Lisa laughed through her tears. "What will people say? That I finally got it right?" Later that night, after the last song had played and the guests began to drift away, Lisa stood by the lake once more. The moon reflected on the water, shimmering like silver silk. She heard his footsteps before she saw him. Charles approached slowly, holding something in his hand, a small velvet box. Her heart stopped. "Charles," he smiled faintly, nerves flickering behind his eyes. "I told myself if I ever got a second chance with you, I wouldn't waste a single moment." Lisa's breath trembled. "You don't have to. I want to." He took her hands, his voice steady now, filled with love that left no room for doubt. "Lisa Nelson, you've haunted my heart long enough. I don't want ghosts anymore. I want mornings with you. I want fights and laughter and quiet nights on the porch. I want everything. The messy, beautiful, ordinary life we never got to live." Her tears fell freely now, glistening in the moonlight. He dropped to one knee, opening the box. The diamond inside caught the faint light, simple and breathtaking. "Marry me, Lisa. Not because we've waited long enough, but because waiting any longer would be a crime against my heart." Lisa gasped, covering her mouth. "Charles, say yes," he whispered, eyes pleading. "Please." Her voice broke. "Yes, God, yes." The words burst from her like a flood, raw and trembling. She threw her arms around him, and he laughed, the sound of a man finally at peace. When he slipped the ring on her finger, she stared at it through tears, then whispered, "It was always you." He kissed her again, slow and deep, the world fading around them until there was only the rhythm of their hearts. A few months later, on a quiet autumn evening, the city of Dallas glowed beneath a soft drizzle. Inside a small chapel, the air smelled of roses and candlelight.
Lisa walked down the aisle, her dress shimmering like moonlight. Charles stood waiting, eyes glistening, his heart in his throat. When she reached him, she smiled, radiant, trembling, full of love. "Took us long enough," he laughed, squeezing her hands. "Worth every second." As the minister began to speak, Lisa glanced out the window. The same Texas sky, vast and infinite. Her voice was steady as she whispered her vows. "I once let fear take you away from me. I won't make that mistake again. This time, I choose you. Not the dream, not the safety. You. Always you." Charles's eyes shone as he replied, "And I choose you, Lisa Nelson, again and again in every life." When they kissed, the chapel erupted in applause. Outside, rain began to fall, soft, cleansing, full of promise. And as the drops tapped against the windows, Lisa smiled through tears, knowing that sometimes love doesn't end. It waits, patient, unyielding, for the moment you're brave enough to reach for it again. Because some hearts don't move on, they come home. Thank you for listening to MangaLove's storytelling. If you find this story meaningful and enjoyable, please remember to give MangaLove a like and subscribe so you won't miss the newest stories. Wishing you a wonderful day.